Okay, it's 12 p.m. UTC just, so we're going to start a live stream today. Welcome to Dora Hack's YouTube and Bilibili live channel. This is the second episode of the PlatON Grand Hackathon workshop series. And this time we welcome the VP Product and Infrastructure from Obsidian Labs, as well as the product manager from PlatON Studio, Edrick. He will going to talk about how to develop PlatON and Alaya via PlatON Studio. So before he begins, I will also emphasize that PlatON Grand Hackathon is ongoing currently on hackerlink.io. The prize pool is updated to 170,000 US dollars. So welcome to apply. And once you give your application, we will reach out to you, invite you to our live stream channels to share your ideas and projects. So let's begin with today's workshop. Let's welcome Edrick. So I think, Edrick, you can start whenever you like.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Hello, everyone. It's been a pleasure today to join with Claire to have this session for the PlatON Grand Hackathon. And today I'm going to talk about the tutorial about how to get started to develop your first smart contract on PlatON and Alaya networks using our newest toolkit developed for PlatON, the PlatON Studio. So my name is Edrick. I'm part of the Obsidian Labs team. Basically, I'm responsible for the product development and infrastructure setup at Obsidian Labs. And for PlatON Studio, I'm actually the product manager for PlatON Studio. And today, it's my pleasure to share with you about some details of our product. And as a developer myself, very much would like to share with you how to get started developing your first smart contract on PlatON. So let's get started. A little bit brief introduction about what I will be talking today. First, the first 15 minutes will have a short introduction to me, our team, PlatON Studio, the toolkits. And for 15 to 20 minutes, we will have some basic information before we really start development, because some people may have heard of there's PlatON, there's Alaya, and there's EVM, there's Wasm contract. Some people will get very confused at the very first beginning, what is what. We'll have a short comparison between them two and talk about some basics before we really get started. And in the last 25 minutes, we'll be talking, or we will be doing a real demo to develop and also build and deploy our first smart contract to the Alaya networks. Actually, we will do two of the contracts, one in EVM, one in Wasm. I will focus on the Wasm contracts because with that contract, we will be issuing a typical ARC20 token. That is the common token definition that we used in the blockchain world. And with that contract, we will deploy our first tokens on PlatON in our session today. So let's get started. First part, Obsidian Labs. And we're a team founded in 2017 in Silicon Valley, USA. And we're now the world leader in blockchain IDEs, covering most major public blockchains that you might be used or might be heard of. Our coverage includes PlatON, Ethereum, EOS, Nervos, and a few. And of course, today, we are invited by the LatticeX Foundation, who are the foundation behind the PlatON and the Alaya networks. And we are also very honored to be selected by the foundation as the official IDE provider to the Alaya and PlatON networks. So if you want to know more about Obsidian's labs, you may visit our official website at www.obsidian.io. And you can also visit our GitHub repository. Most of our products are open source and free to use. You may also check out all the projects and all the products we've been working on right now. For people who use Telegram, you can also join our communication group on Telegram. And the link is shown on the presentation. For Twitter, you can also follow our Twitter. And for people who are using WeChat, you can scan the QR code on the right side to invite or to get invitation to our community group that are active on WeChat at this moment. Also talking about the Grand Hackathon, we will also be dispatching a team attending the Grand Hackathon. So if you feel what we've been doing right now is quite useful to you, feel free to vote for us, and you're very welcome. So we say PlatON Studio is the most powerful all-in-one blockchain IDE to date. And we say that for a reason, because we are the first or the very first set of IDEs on blockchains that offers a completely GUI across all major platforms. We are the very first IDEs on blockchain world integrating all the necessary toolkits that you might be need during the whole development cycle. That includes the network manager, the code editor, and the project editor, as well as we are the very first IDE provider that providing a complete built-in deployment functionalities, debug functionalities, as well as block explorer. So that actually makes our studio products really stands out of the whole markets available right now. That is more, and that's why we are really proud to present to you today about our product and also our tutorials, how to develop on PlatON and Alaya networks. So the reason we call PlatON Studio is the most powerful all-in-one blockchain IDE to date is not only because we integrated all the major toolkits that you will be needing when you're developing on a blockchain platform. That includes the code editor, network management, contract inspector, block explorer, that covers from development to build to deployment and to debug. So the whole development cycle. But also we have integrated a few very useful toolkits or widgets in our software that helps people actually make use of these blockchains, make use of the PlatON network, make use of the Alaya networks. And that including like some functionality a lot of people are quite familiar, like faucet, like transfer. And I will show that in details later on in the demo. And also we have built a very smart key pair managers within our software, a lot of built-in templates and plugins. And also we had a one-stop prerequisite wizard for all of the people who are installing our desktop version of the Studio software that actually, well, a lot like helped a lot of people prepare for their laptop or desktop to get ready to develop on the PlatON Studios. And also we are supporting a tab view explorer in most of our pages, and that enables our software to be able to work across multiple projects, multiple contracts, and also multiple accounts and addresses. And we'll show that later on in our demo. So before we really started, there's a few things I need to clarify. First one, PlatON Studio supports both PlatON and Alaya networks, even though it's called PlatON Studio. It supports both PlatON and Alaya networks. Some people may be a little bit confused with PlatON and Alaya network. They are two different or two parallel networks that are invented and operated by the lattice X. So there isn't any like difference, or I can't say it's difference. So basically it's two parallel networks. Both of them has like mainnet, both of them has devnet. They're not interconnected. And a lot of operations, a lot of things are the same. The only thing that are not the same is Alaya has a little bit slightly more experimental functionalities than the PlatON. And also both networks have different patterns on addresses and different tokens. So essentially you can treat them as two parallel networks, but are working pretty much in the same way. And in our tutorial, we'll be using the Alaya networks. This is the networks that we have built-in functionalities to run local nodes on the desktop version, and it's quite beneficial to the developers who are developing locally. And also, we are just extend this use to show you how to use Alaya networks, the testnet on the Alaya testnet networks. If you're working on PlatON networks, it's pretty much the same way. And we will be showing you later on how to use it. Second, the PlatON Studio actually supports both EVM and WASM contracts. The major difference between EVM and the WASM contracts is the language it's written into. EVM contract is written in Solidity. Its programming languages comes with the first invented by the Ethereum. And WASM contracts are written in conventional like C++ languages. And it works in the same way, like from a smart contract wise. And we will be showing both of the contracts later on in the demo. And the PlatON Studio actually have built-in templates for both Solidity, which is the EVM contracts, and the CPP, the C++ WASM contracts template. And I'll show that later in the demo as well. So the PlatON Studio right now, we offer a desktop installation on all of the major OSs. That includes macOS, Windows, and Linux. You can go to our GitHub repository to view the newest versions and distributions, or you can download through the link shown on the presentation, which we will serve the newest version available from the repository directly. Okay, so today we're going to use the PlatON Studio on Mac to develop our first few smart contracts and try to interact with the contract to see how the magic works. And when you download the PlatON Studios, according to your OS type, and you start it up, you should be able to see this welcome screen. This welcome screen, I will switch to the real world. Okay, this is the real PlatON Studio. So this is the one-stop prerequisite wizard we have just talked about. This is the place where PlatON will check all the prerequisites it requires to be running. And it will guide you through the installation of all these prerequisites. The first one, the most important one, is the Docker. You have to install Docker before you're able to install the other one. And it will show up, it will check the status of the Docker containers or in the Docker platforms installation on your laptop. And if you have it installed, it will show as start Docker. If you haven't installed it, it will guide you to the official website of the Docker and where you can download and install it on your local machine. So from our side, we just click start Docker and it will get started. And the second is the second prerequisite is called the Alaya node. It's the software that makes our software able to running the local nodes on the local machine. And since I have been using PlatON Studio for a while, it has been installed with the version. If it's not installed on your local laptop or local computer, it will show a install button on the right side and click, and you will be able to select the version you wish to install. And you already would just recommend to install whatever the newest one. it usually contains the most functionalities and most of the bugs has been fixed up to date. And for Alaya Truffle, it's the same way. It's pretty much the same thing as the well-known truffle on Ethereum. It's just its Alaya version. It provides a series of toolkits and a framework that supports us during the Alaya or PlatON development. So you have to install both or three, all of the prerequisites before we start. Once you are all installed on your local computer, the button will get a new color and it says get started. And now let's click on it. So when you click on the get started, it will bump you into the project window where it shows all of the recent projects that you have. These are the projects I've been playing around with for a few times, but let's take a look about the whole window. On the top left corner, there is a project tab. On the project tab is the entry for all the project management functionalities, and also you see the recent project list as well. This is the entry where if you want to go into the project manager and the code editor. On the top right corner, the first tab would be contract. It will show the most recent contract, or basically, actually, the start contract is those who have been set as your favorite on the chain. On the Explorer, it will also show a list of key pairs. That's the key pairs you have in your key pair managers on your current network. On the third one is the network tab, where it shows all the available networks on the PlatON Studio. Right now, we have the local one. We have Alaya DevNet, which is testing for Alaya, and the mainnet for Alaya, and same set of networks for PlatON as well. On the last one, on the top rightmost one, is the user icon in my project list. It will guide you back to the very first screen that we're getting started into on PlatON, the project window. Now let's take a look at the bottom column. On the left is a key icon. This guides us to the famous key pair manager. And today, our development tool actually starts here from the key pair manager. Key pairs are a proof of ownership of a certain digital asset and contracts. So in PlatON Studio, we have divided all the key pairs in different networks so that it will be easier for you to use. If you want to check the key pairs on the other networks, click on the tab and it will show the other one. And if you click on different tabs, you will see that there is a difference between the format of the key pair address. That actually is one of the key difference between Alaya and PlatON. When you click on PlatON, it starts with LAT. When you click on Alaya, it starts as ATP. And if you click on the local Alaya network, it starts with ATX. That's the first major difference. The key pair manager, we can either create or import key pairs. By creating key pairs, click create, and you can set a name. Let's say, and you can create key pairs either in private keys or in mnemonics. If you want to create in mnemonics, just click regenerate the drop-down menu and choose regenerate from mnemonics. Right now, we are creating two key pairs for future use. So it's called the test key pair 2. And we'll create the second one as the mnemonics. So either way, you have to securely store your private keys in mnemonics, because this is the sole proof of the ownership of the address. And if you lose it or if you leak it to someone else, it may lead the permanent loss of your digital assets. Anyway, so please securely store it. And if you want to check it after you create it, like I want to check for some reason, I want to check my private keys, you can you can move your cursor onto the key name, and there's a small icon at the end where you can double click and it will show the private keys. The other way is like I currently have some keys and I want to import it to the key pair manager. How do I do it? Just click on the import and you'll be able to name it and paste in the private key or the mnemonics you want to import, and also select the network type. And if you click it right, let's do one. If you put the right private keys or mnemonics, you will be able to see the address here. You'll be able to see the address. That means you are inputting the correct information, and that will somehow let you know that I'm importing the right one. There's no information leaked anyway. So right now, before we proceed to the next step, we have to create at least 2 key pairs for us to be able to use in the later steps. And now we close. So when we do development, mostly we will do that. We will deploy or we will interact a contract on our local nodes. That's the easiest way to do it, and that's the most stable way to do it. So on our case, we go to the network panel to start a new local node. So click on the top right corner, the tab, and choose local, and we'll go to the local network manager, where we right now want to start a new instance. Click new instance. Let's name it new instance 1. Select the node version, usually correspond with the version you installed on the local laptop, and pick an address for the miner. This is the address for miner for the local node, which will mine all the blocks out of the nodes when it's running, and it will be rewarded as tokens as the mine goes on. So we pick the test key pair 1, which was just created moments ago. Wait for a few seconds. And also the address we selected here is also called Genesis address in the blockchain world, which means when the local node is spin up, it will also reward the Genesis address a few tokens as rewarded upon its first start. So our instance, new instance 1 has been set up, and we click start to start it, and it will automatically spin up the local nodes. And you can check the nodes logs in the display below for the current status of the nodes. Okay, so we just talked about all the tokens that will be rewarded once the first spin up. So let's check if the token has been rewarded. Go to Explorer, and you will see all the 4 key pairs under local Alaya network has been shown here. We click on the test key pair, and you see there's 9,580 keys has been rewarded. So everything seems works fine. We can proceed to the next step. Now let's open a project. So click on the top left corner to create a new project. Let's name the first project test project 1. And choose our favorite templates. So you can see here, PlatON Studio supports both Solidity and Watson contract templates. We will showcase both of the contracts, but let's go to Solidity first. So we will pick the Hello World and pick the version of Truffle that installed on the Alaya. It's again corresponding with the version you just selected at the welcome screen, and create project. And here is the editor window. On the left, it will show the file tree under the current project folder. On the right side, it will be a graphic code editor, which will show the current file, and it might be showing different files in different tabs where you can switch it over. So in a Solidity project, the actual contracts is under the subfolder named contracts. And there is a .sol file. This is the actual programming source code. So click on the hello world.sol, you will see the contract as defined in the file. And also, sometimes people want to change the project setting. You can do that in two ways. The first one is to click on the gear ship icon on the toolbar. It will go to the project setting. The second way is to click on the config.json file. This also gets you to the project setting. In the project setting, where you can set the project language, main file, smart contract to deploy, and a few other compilers, EVM, and linter configurations where you can change it. On the editor, we actually integrated a linter function for you. Actually, the linter will automatically checks all the source code opened in the file, and it will tell, or it will raise a flag like an exclamation mark before a warning and a red cross mark before an error. So usually, if it shows at this, it will see like it can be interpreted as there might be a warning on your code, and if you see a red cross, it might be an error. So now from our side, let's see, we are fine. Once we finished writing our codes, we want to build it or deploy it. For PlatON Studio, there is a very easy way to build and deploy your smart contract. There's two icons on the toolbar. The first one is build, the second one is deploy. That's the way we do building contracts in PlatON Studio. Now, first we click build. It will automatically build all the smart contracts under the current projects using the Alaya Truffle toolkits, as we mentioned, one of the most important prerequisites for PlatON Studio. And it will see the logs in the below log viewer, and it says compile successfully using SOLC. And there's also a pop-up saying it has been successfully deployed. And then after it's successfully deployed, we can, after it's successfully built, we can deploy the contract. Now, as we see, there is a contract available here, and we'll be using the signer. We use the Genesis addresses we just created, the key pair we just created here, test key pair 1. And gas limit and gas price is the transaction fees that was charged by the platform, by the Alaya nodes. And don't worry, just you can leave it to PlatON Studio to automatically estimate the gas price by clicking the estimate gas. Or like sometimes the gas limit is not enough to deploy a message, to deploy a contract. You have to manually override it with your own figures. So you can also manually override if you wish to. Now click deploy. It will deploy your contract. So once it's deployed, it will pop up a transaction window, mentioning all the transaction hash, status, contract, like contract address, contract name, and signer, which is the address we just used to sign the contract. There is two ways if you want to proceed. The first one is you can click the contract address right of the contract column, and it will get you to the contract inspector where you can do all the interacts with contracts. Second one is you can, if you know the address, you can copy the address and paste it here. It will get you to the contract inspector. So this is the contracts inspector where you can interact with all the contracts. We have divided this window into 3 parts for your easier understanding, the left part is all the windows, all the columns for write method to invoke on the contract. The middle one was all the read data method, where it's all the data where you can read. Here is all the functions that you can write on the contract. And on the third one is actually an event query window where you can query all the events happening happening on the contract, where we will show that this function is not available on this contract. We will show that later on in the Watson contract. So for this contract, we can make use of this write functions. It's a set name. So it apparently sets a name. Let's say my task contract. And again, we let the PlatON Studio to estimate all the gasoline and gas price, and we pick the signer as our Genesis addresses, because that's the address on this network that has the token to pay for all the things. And click execute. And then the PlatON Studio will push this transaction stat name to my task contract to the blockchain, and waiting for the blockchain to give a confirm on that. And now it says transaction confirmed, which means the transaction, the action has been processed by the blockchain. Where let's verify it. Now we had a view function, a read function named getName. So it's supposed to read the name we just set. So by intuition, it should be my test contract. Okay, great. So this is my test contract, which means our write function has just worked and works finely. And so as our project, so as our contract. So this is for a simple contract under Solidity. So now let's try a much complex or a much typical project, the ARC20 token contract. My test ARC20 token. And we're using the standard token ERC20. Awesome. ERC20 is the definition in the Ethereum world. In Alaya's word, it's called ARC20. So basically, these two standards are equivalent, and we don't differentiate from time to time. And now let's create. So here is our MyTest ARC20 token project. And this is a C++ project. So the contract, the source code is also under the subfolder named contracts. And you can see that it's called standard token.cpp, which is a typical C++ source code, where you can view all the source code. And we will also definitely highlight the programming languages for you for easier understanding and better readability. If you want to check the project setting, you can do either way. Click on the project setting icon or click on the config.json. You can see program language in C++, file, and pretty much the same. Okay, so now let's try to build this. Same, press the build button, and PlatON Studio will automatically build for yourself. And after it builds up, it's the same way as the Solidity contracts. There will be a build folder. Let's wait them to finish. Okay, build successful. There is a build folder where you will see all the build outputs underneath the subfolder called ABI, JSON, and Watson. And now we can deploy these outputs. Okay, so we'll be deploying a contract ABI named standard token.abi.json. There are two constructor parameters. These are the parameters required to be deployed before a contract before deploy. So initial amount, let's put 10,000. Token name is my token. Decimal units, let's put 5, or like you can change to a favorite magic number. Icon, that's in like MTK. Same, pick our Genesis addresses. and let the PlatON Studio estimate the transaction fees. Okay, now let's deploy it. Oh, here is the thing. Gas limit is too low, needed at least 1 million something. I can't remember. Let's check that again. Okay, 1526336. So this is the place where we have to override the gas limit. Let's override it. Now it should work. Okay, deploy successful. Now we can go into this contract and interact with the contract to remember how we can go into the contract, clicking the contract addresses right off the contract column. And now we can see there are 3 parts of the window. The first part is write function. The second part is read function. Third part is query of events. So let's try all these 3 in the demo. First one. For a typical token, the most common used functions are actually transfer function, which moves a certain amount of token from one address to the other. So let's do a transfer in this case to see if our tokens is successfully created and all the functions is working properly. We will transfer to the new address that we created in the key pair manager. We haven't used that key pair so far, so there should be 0 tokens over there. So let's check just to make sure. Click the drop down list right off the Explorer tab and pick test key pair. Click on the Explorer and it says 0 ATP, which means 0. Okay, so now let's transfer 1,000. Can I transfer 1,000? I think we just issued 10,000. Okay, we just issued 10,000 tokens, so 1,000 should be fine. Let's select the test key pair once as the signer. This also serves as the sender in our transfer functions. The to column is perceived as the receiver. So let the gas estimate and we execute. Maybe it's too much. Let's try a smaller amount. Okay, so this transaction is now provisionally executed. We just transferred from key pair 1 to key pair 2 about 100 tokens. So let's check the balance. It's a read functions. We choose balance off. So we just did a transfer from key pair 1 to key pair 2 about 100 tokens. So key pair 2 should be able to have a 100 token exactly. No. What? Or there might be key pairs. Oh, there might be previous key pair. There might be previous tokens in the key pair too. So let's do another 100. Right now it's 2, 2, 3. So let's do another 100. Let's see. We did another transfer of 100 tokens to key pair 2. And now we check the balance of key pair 2 is supposed to be 100 more, which is 323. There we go. So that means the transfer function has been successfully carried out in our contract, which did a transfer of 100 tokens, my test tokens, to the new addresses. And sometimes people want to check about all the history records of about these certain events. That's where we use this third window to check all the event query. And in that way, you can transfer either the transfer and approval event, and it will show up all the history. In our case, which is the transfer records. So these actually are the whole procedure or whole processes of developing a new contract on PlatON, where it includes first set your key pairs, set your local development nodes, and write your codes, build your codes, and deploy your contract. And most importantly, interact with your contract to make sure that it's working as desired. It serves your purposes. This is a basic guideline about how to develop your smart contracts. But also on PlatON Studio, we have built in a lot of toolkits other than that. A lot of people are working on the Alaya DevNet. Let's see what we have been offering on the DevNet. When we're connecting to the Alaya DevNet, all the configuration has automatically been built in. You can just click the drop-down menu and click Alaya DevNet. As you can see here, Alaya has its own DevNet in mainnet. PlatON has its own DevNet in mainnet. It's working the same way. But in Alaya and PlatON, it's using two different set of addresses respectively, where you have to set up your own set of key pairs in Alaya, where in our case, this is my key pair, where it has a certain balances. In the most testnet, we have integrated a few very important or very useful toolkits, widgets on the addresses. First one is start. When you click start, it will show in the list wherever you go in the PlatON Studio. It will show there just for convenience if you want to select it from the tab. It's a useful way to refer or to references the key pair. Second way is to transfer. If you wish to transfer in the Alaya testnet, you can use that widget to easily transfer to anyone. We have one key pair here. There's no recipient for me right now. If anyone wish to be my recipient, you can let me know. I can transfer ATPs to you, but it doesn't matter. Like testnet, there isn't any value for the testnet token, so no worry. It's not a big deal. The third one is require a faucet. A faucet is a way to apply for test tokens on Alaya networks. When you are clicking on the faucet button, it will guide you through the Alaya portal to get test ATPs, where you can copy and paste, which is my addresses, and click it and put your email. And send a verification code. Click that. So it will send you a verification code to your emails and collect all the information needed to apply for test tokens. That will be beneficial to you if you want to do a deployment on the testnet, or if you want to do a interaction with your contract that on the testnet, because the way you do faucet, it will get you some test tokens where you can spend for the transaction fees and other purposes. Let's see if I get. I haven't got the email yet, but usually it will give you a verification email, verification email which contains a code. Put the code here and click apply. It will say like, okay, are you sure you want to apply for some test tokens? And if you click yes, and it will send you a test token. It's not instant. It's not instant transaction. Usually it takes about 2 hours or so, but it really depends on the loads on the networks to be processed, you will get your test tokens of 200 ATPs in roughly about 2 hours, so that you can make use of them, and you will be able to see the balance here. And the last part would be the transaction history. It shows all the transaction history on a certain addresses. On Alaya and PlatON, the DevNet and mainnet doesn't support this functionality. But in case if you are using a local Alaya, it supports it. So let's check. You can see on the local nodes, it will show all the transaction history, the pair of sender and recipients, and you will be able to see that how the token has been added and deducted from the accounts. Okay, so for more advanced developers, we are also offering some other very useful capabilities, like you can use you can click on the local network's name, which will give you a RPC client. It actually gives you an opportunity to make raw like RPC client calls to the PlatON and Alaya underlying networks, where you can see the raw data. Sometimes it's very beneficial for advanced debuggers to get to know what the response would be like. The other, if you click transaction, it will show all the recent transactions happen to the nodes, where you can check. This is also the way where you can recall this transaction pop-up window. And again, you can visit the contract, but I would recommend to store it or to save the address. The third one would be ABI storage. ABI files is one of the build outputs. It's also the source file where we build the form or the window where we interact with our contracts. So we generate the write function list, the read function list, the query list from the ABI storage. Sometimes people want to interact with the contracts not deployed through PlatON Studio. This tool will be beneficial for you if you want to interact with the outside contracts deployed to build PlatON and Alaya network. In that way, you can click new and import the ABI file so that our contract inspector will be able to build the form for PlatON Studio to be able to interact with your code on the chain. The other way is if you want to import a project that has been built but has not been deployed in PlatON Studio yet, you can import it or semi-automatically import it from the select from current project. It will show all the project, all the build outputs in the current project where you can import it. It will also be easier for a developer to import. So this is a brief introduction about PlatON Studio and how to develop a simple token contract on PlatON Studio. We really hope you enjoy it, and you are very welcome to visit our GitHub repository and let us know if you have any questions, concerns, inquiries, wish list. And we will be continuing working on this project to make it more perfect and more easier to use for everyone. So thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me today, talking about PlatON Studio, and thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Edrick. And there's a comment from a viewer saying, I quote, PlatON Studio is one of the best IDE tools. It's very easy to use. And as you said at the beginning of this workshop, PlatON and Alaya are parallel networks, both by Lattice X Labs. So I want to ask also for the audience who are not very familiar with the two names, that why Alaya has to be developed, why developers needs to choose from PlatON and Alaya. So what's the difference, and what's the competitiveness of both the networks?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah. So let me make it clear again. So from your point of view, what's the competitiveness of PlatON and of Alaya? So because at the beginning of this workshop, you said they are parallel networks, right? From the same team. So why there are two networks from this team?
So I'm not a I'm not a colleague from LatticeX, so I'm not saying this officially. This is my personal understanding. It might not be the official understanding. So correct me if I'm wrong. I can think of from a developer perspective. I think for Alaya and PlatON, the major difference are, I would say, two purpose. The first one is for different audiences, where for PlatON is more for serious use. It's a build as a financial networks. It's more like when we're talking about finances, it's more serious. It's more there's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of no matter it's from legal perspective or from let's say regulatory perspective, it's more serious. So in that case, it's more concerned to have different capabilities or different functionalities on the networks. So that's why Alaya is invented. It's more like exploration of the front end, of the forefront of blockchain world, like how the blockchain should be and how it could be over there. So to me, it's two different parallel for different audiences. It has a lot of similarities, but PlatON is the a little bit more conservative, a little bit more serious network than the Alaya network, where Alaya is more like on the forefront, like exploration of the whole world thing. And so Alaya has more capabilities. Alaya we might see a new functionalities coming up to Alaya more earlier than the PlatON. But eventually, I think they are parallel networks, and like Alaya is more like an experimental field of the PlatON network.
Great. That's a very good point. And I think both of the networks are very young at this moment. So there will be huge potentials, huge opportunities for the developers who are joining the networks right now. Yeah. So from the second question is, we're gonna make it quicker because it's nearly 1 hour for this workshop. So from your point of view, what tracks, like what topics of projects you're expecting from the future PlatON and Alaya ecosystem?
From my perspective, I like, firstly, I would love to see more community events from Alaya, from LatticeX, no matter Alaya or PlatON networks, because it's really a great matter to hear and to take part in the community events as blockchain developers. It will also beneficial to us as a toolkit provider to listen to our users like feedbacks and to make our toolkits even more perfect, more easier to use. Yeah, that's pretty much my only expectation, because like you guys are doing a great job. So
Thanks.
there isn't really much I can complain in terms of functionality. Like you're doing a very good job. So what we are doing right now, and we want to see more opportunity, more collaborations with LatticeX, with some developers on the PlatON and Alaya networks.
Yeah. What makes us very surprised is that the applicants of this PlatON grant hackathon, many of them are researchers on privacy computing or more scientific sides of blockchain studies. So that's very rare for other hackathons we have done previously. So PlatON and Alaya have brought us a lot of surprise. Great. Thank you, Edrick. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you very
for
much.
your time.
Thank you for everyone's time listening to this.
And audience, so please, you can watch this video again after we uploading the recorded video, and please try PlatON Studio on hand and to find out more miracle and more opportunities in the PlatON and Alaya ecosystem. And once again, the PlatON Grant Hackathon is ongoing currently, so please contact us on hackerlink.io to apply for this hackathon and to see what others are building on this ecosystem. So thank you again, Edrick. We're going to have